Let's talk a little bit more about Meta because shares moving higher after its second quarter revenue rose 22% from a year ago. 98% of those sales coming from advertising. The tech giant also continuing to tout its AI investments, saying that it expects, quote, significant growth in CapEx in 2025. CEO Mark Zuckerberg commented on why tech stocks are focusing so much on AI on the earnings calls.
There are all the jokes about how all the tech CEOs get on these earnings calls and just talk about AI the whole time. It's because it's actually super exciting and it's going to change all these different things over multiple time horizons.
Josh Beck, he joins us now. He's the managing director at Raymond James. Josh, it's great to see you here. So obviously the street very excited by what they heard from Zuckerberg last night, what they saw in this latest earnings print. What was your biggest takeaway from this and what this signals about Meta's placement here within the AI trade?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, for having me on. A big change from 90 days ago. Remember, Meta actually traded off. There were, I think, a lot of concerns on the amount of spend, particularly CapEx dollars, and their ability to monetize that CapEx. This quarter, much more positive narrative. I think they were very prescriptive, about this idea of fungibility. So not probably exactly something you expect to hear on every tech earnings, but it's basically the idea that they're buying a lot of GPUs from NVIDIA, which you mentioned earlier, but they have a lot of different use cases lined up. So I think more of this kind of disciplined investment philosophy was really a positive takeaway. And on top of it, the core ads business is just doing really well. It's growing in the low 20s%, and it shows you that already in their core business, they're benefiting from AI. So it was really quite a change from 90 days ago, and certainly viewed positively by investors.
Do you think consumers are fully grasping and users of these services are fully grasping the use cases for AI, and how much more do you think Meta can extract from those AI use cases that really contributes through to the average revenue that they're seeing per user?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of consumer interest. There's a couple of different layers there. I think at the moment what you're seeing is product like Reels, and the recommendation engine behind that is driving users to spend more time on the platform, which obviously creates a bigger advertising surface. So that's definitely in play. The newer element is certainly Meta AI. So this is a chat bot. They're using Instagram and Facebook to distribute it. They also have a standalone product, but there's starting to be kind of a new conversation on Meta that you would have never really considered before. So, hey, Meta, can you help me plan this trip with my friends? Not something you really would have ever considered on your time on Instagram or Facebook, but it's completely net new. So it's driving more time. It's helping their users kind of find a new use case on Meta. And, they're ambitious. They want to be one of the leaders there. And, certainly they're tracking really well. So I think the early consumer feedback is very good. And I would also just make this other point. It's not just consumer. So one of the areas we're really constructive on is enterprise. This has been a market that's not really been a focus for Meta really at all. But now with their new set of language models, Llama, they're opening a new door into enterprise budgets. And we're really constructive there. I think investors probably don't quite give them credit for it at the moment, but that's another kind of multi-year driver that's a little bit underappreciated about the story.
Josh, when we talk about the balancing act here between investment and then the want and need, at least from the street's perspective, from analysts' perspective, for that immediate impact to their bottom line, to their financials, are they doing a good job balancing that? Because it is something that has proven to be challenging to Meta in the past, and it's also proving to be an issue and challenging here for some of its larger cap tech peers as well.
Yeah, look, you're spot on. This is probably the biggest challenge facing the tech industry, and particularly the large platforms, is they see a multi-year opportunity that's completely changing the tech stack from the way the consumer behaves to the way that enterprise apps are built. So it's a massive change, and these companies have to walk a a pretty tight rope. And I think what investors are holding them to is, okay, you can take your CapEx up, you can invest, but you need to be pretty prescriptive about where you see the monetization in your business. You don't necessarily have to give investors a number in terms of Gen AI revenue every quarter, but you have to give them a pretty strong sense of where you see the returns and how you're managing that capital. So for example, if something doesn't pan out, that you can shift those resources elsewhere and still get a good return. And that was one of the real messages from Meta last night that I think was most positive. I think, some of the other tech companies have a little work to do to spell out their monetization story and how they're thinking about investment. But yeah, for Meta, I think today and kind of into the next year, they're in a really good spot.
Just lastly, Josh, while we have you, for investors this morning trying to kind of wade through the digital advertising thesis or theme within their own portfolio, is Meta the best game in town when it comes to digital advertising?
Certainly, it's a strong buy for us. The digital ad market, I think, is quite healthy right now. That was certainly an investor concern coming in. There were certainly some signs of weakness in certain verticals like food and beverage, but overall retail ended up very strong. That's probably the most important vertical. So yes, I think Meta is a really good investment because not only are they gaining share in the digital ad market, but they have these other emerging opportunities in enterprise. We also like Amazon. We think they're doing really well in the advertising space and also benefiting from Gen AI on the enterprise side with AWS. So those are some of our preferred plays. Reddit is another one that we like that we think is doing really well.
Interesting. Josh Beck, Raymond James Managing Director here. Josh, great to grab some time with you here this morning ahead of the opening bell and after these results and the call from Meta. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Certainly.